So I'm a little disappointed, Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson, because of all the things that you brought back to the Batman franchise, of all the good things that you did in this movie, the one thing that I was waiting for, the one thing I wanted Batman to do, you didn't do. All I wanted was to hear Batman once again say his iconic line. You know the one, "Swear to me!" The Batman is brought to us by director Matt Reeves and stars Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, and Jeffrey Wright. When the Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins to murder key political figures in Gotham, Batman is forced to investigate the city's corruption and his family's possible involvement. So the Batman needs no introduction. I don't know if there's anybody out there that doesn't know who Batman is and that this movie, The Batman, is coming out. It's been in development for like years. It's passed through a whole bunch of different hands. There's all kinds of controversy and supposed crazy shit going on behind the scenes. It seemed like it took forever to get made, and now it is finally here. And honestly, it took so long and there was so much bullshit behind the scenes of this movie, I figured it was gonna be a total and utter clusterfuck. However, this movie has been getting rave reviews from everyone who has been fortunate enough to see it. So going into it, I was expecting a lot. I was thinking, okay, this is gonna be the Batman movie. And well, yeah, everybody said it was great, and they're all entitled to their opinions, but for me, after walking out of this movie, honestly, I thought it was fucking awesome. Holy shit, this is the Batman movie that I've been waiting for. Now let's get something straight right away. I love the 1989 Batman. I really like Christopher Nolan's Batman. I even like Ben Affleck's take on Batman, but this Batman is a whole new game. This Batman is the Batman. It's even in the title, see? Really though, I'm not being facetious when I say that. This movie really is the one. This Batman is much more grounded in reality. Yes, even more so than Nolan's Batman movie. And this Batman is what Batman was from the beginning, a detective. This is a crime mystery movie where we get to see the detective Batman actually doing some detective work. He ain't fucking around with all that suave Bruce Wayne alter ego shit. No, he's Bruce Wayne for like maybe 10% of this movie, and the other 90, he's fucking Batman. Like no shit, Robert Pattinson was in this suit almost the entire movie, and I loved it. This Batman is also brutal as hell. Did you think that Snyder's Batman was pretty brutal? Oh no, he ain't shit compared to Robert Pattinson's Batman. Pattinson in stature is probably the smallest person to play Batman up to this point, but holy fuck. He is the one that I would not want to run into in a dark alley because he will literally beat the fuck out of you for just being there. This Batman is pissed, like at everybody. And it makes sense because this is early Batman. He's only 2 years into this thing. He's still just mad at the world. He's not doing this for some just reason at this point. He's just doing it because he's pissed off at the world. He's pissed off at this shithole city he lives in that took his parents from him years ago. On that, this is also a Batman movie that doesn't really touch on his origin at all, really. While there is a point in the movie that does touch on some of the stuff about his parents, not a whole lot of it has to do with their actual murder. And none of it has to do with how he became Batman because we all fucking know that story by now. I thought this was a great move. Robert Pattinson's Batman is just fucking mad and he's unhinged out there beating the shit out of people. And I know I've said that a couple of times already in this review, but man, this movie is fucking brutal. This is the most brutal Batman we've gotten up to this point. I don't know if they cut anything out of this movie to get a PG-13 rating, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if the original cut got an R, because they wouldn't really need to add much to get that R rating here. And I loved it. This Batman is not afraid to get dirty, because that's what I imagine Batman was in his early years. Just mad as hell and ready to beat the hell out of crime. Now the story that we get here is very big and expansive, but it never overwhelms you. By the end of its almost 3-hour runtime, you look back and you're like, holy shit, there was a lot of stuff in this movie. And they expertly wove in so many characters from Batman lore into this one story. But it never felt like they were just putting characters from the Batman lore in here to get them there. They all fit perfectly. The Riddler, who is the main antagonist in this film, man, he has never really been a character that seemed that threatening. But in this movie, holy fuck, man, he is menacing as shit. I loved how this story wasn't some over-the-top, crazy, insane story. It was very grounded, realistic, and believable. I mean, yeah, you have a guy who's dressed up like a bat running around the city and beating the shit out of people still, but the way that they did it was very believable. I was never expecting the movie to really go down this detective rabbit hole that it did. And I love that they took Batman back to that, because over the years, he has become more and more superhero. And that's never what Batman was. He was that one hero that you could see yourself as, because he was just a guy who solved crime. I mean, he was rich as fuck, and that kind of helped with some of the gadgets and all, but he was still just a regular guy. And that's what this Batman is. He's just a regular guy with a chip on his shoulder out there whooping ass, and he's got a real good eye for detective work. But he's not perfect. I did like how this Batman doesn't have all the answers. He actually makes mistakes in the movie. There are clues left behind that he gets, and he comes to a conclusion about those clues, and we come to find that, hey, you were wrong. There were things he didn't pick up on. He was flawed. Now, the third act of this movie is kind of odd, because the movie kind of sort of has an ending before that, but then it keeps going. And at first, during this part of the film, I was thinking to myself, uh-oh, they fucked up, because it feels a little off now. It feels like it should have already ended. But you soon find out that the movie has a reason that it's doing this, and a very good reason. In this section of the film, Batman grows as a character more than any other part of the film, and it is a very important part of the movie. But admittedly, it did feel a bit odd. It felt like it was an added part to the movie after this one particular scene happens, and when you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. I didn't dislike it in the slightest, but it did seem just a little bit off for a few minutes there. Ultimately, though, I did like where they took the story and the character of Batman, and I'm really looking forward to see what they do with him in the future. As long as he's still brutally beating the fuck out of people, I'm good with it. There's one scene in particular I want to talk about, and that would be the new Batmobile. I'm a car guy, especially American muscle cars, especially 70s American muscle cars. And this movie's Batmobile is based on a 1970s Dodge Charger. Now, granted, it is an extremely modified Dodge Charger, but it is a Dodge Charger nonetheless, and this Batmobile is bar none my favorite Batmobile so far. And I like pretty much all the Batmobiles, but this motherfucker is so badass and has one of the coolest fucking intros for a Batmobile as of yet. It's also featured in a really cool chase scene. It's not a whole bunch of over-the-top shit. I mean, there's a little bit, but it's not like crazy over the top. This is a fucking hardcore, badass, straight line muscle car just barreling through Gotham, knocking shit the fuck out of the way, just going to take out this character that they're chasing. You've seen it in the trailer. The car is just as brutal as Batman himself, and the scene is filmed that way. Every hit just hits with an impact that you feel right here. It is fucking amazing. The sounds that this car makes, that big fucking jet engine coming out of the back of it, it is just so guttural and awesomely brutal. I fucking loved it. I want to build this car and go pick up my kids from school in it. I drive it every fucking day. Performance-wise, the movie is in really good hands as well. Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman, does a great job. She brings something to that role, a genuineness, a believability. The performance she gives as this character really sells it. When Jeffrey Wright was announced to be Jim Gordon, I really wasn't sure what I thought about that, but I don't know what the hell I was thinking, because Jeffrey Wright's great in everything he's in, and in this, he is great as well. This is a great Jim Gordon, and I really enjoyed Wright's performance. Andy Serkis as Alfred, while he's not in the movie nearly as much as you would think he would be, while he's there, he's a great Alfred. This is very much more a comic book accurate Alfred. This is an Alfred that has a military background. He even says in the film, I don't know how to raise a kid. I can teach you to fight, but I didn't know how to raise you. I really like that about this Alfred. He's not perfect either. Nobody's perfect in this movie. This movie's just full of flawed characters left and right. And Andy Serkis' Alfred is one of those characters, and my only regret about him being in this film is that he wasn't in it more. Now, Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Man, if you didn't know that Colin Farrell was in this movie and that he was playing the Penguin, I would challenge anyone to pick out that that was Colin Farrell. And not just from looks, but even his voice. There is nothing about Colin Farrell that is in that character. He totally 100% disappeared into this character. I never once saw Colin Farrell, and as far as this character goes, I've never been a huge Penguin fan, but this Penguin, yeah man, I like it. Well, I don't like him. He's kind of a shitbag, but I like the character in this movie. And then, of course, we come to Robert Pattinson as the Batman. And Bruce Wayne for a few minutes. I've heard some rumblings of people saying that while Pattinson was good in this movie, it's not like great. They've said that there's not much distinction between the Batman and Bruce Wayne in this movie. Now, granted, in the past Batman films that we've gotten, there's been a very big distinction between Bruce Wayne and Batman. Bruce Wayne is the alter ego, he has to put on a show for everybody, you know, yada yada yada. But that was kind of the point in this movie. Pattinson's Bruce Wayne didn't give a shit about all that. He was mad as hell. He didn't want to go out on the town and like be a playboy and all that shit. That point is even brought up at one point in the movie and he straight up says, I don't give a shit. So no, there's not much distinction between the character of Bruce Wayne and the Batman in this movie, but there's not supposed to be. And by the time we get to the end of the movie, without giving anything away, I feel as if that's kind of been addressed. So anybody who says that Pattinson's giving kind of a one-note performance here, no, I don't think so. I think he gave a great performance. Now granted, I'm a really big Robert Pattinson fan. And no, not because of Twilight, but pretty much everything the guy's done since Twilight has been absolutely fantastic. This guy just keeps on proving to us that he is a wonderful actor and he brings all that to this role. I truly believe that this Bruce Wayne and or Batman was just mad at everyone. He had spent so many years just being pissed off at the world because of what happened to him as a child that that's all he knows now. That's all he is. He is just anger. In the trailer, you probably saw where he said, I am vengeance. I think it would have been better if he just said, I am anger, because that's all the fuck he is by this point. And that is a part of this movie. The character needs to grow beyond that, and hopefully within this movie, he can do that. Overall, all the performances here I thought were great, and I'm even gonna go as far to say that Robert Pattinson's Batman is kind of my favorite Batman out of all of them now. That's an opinion, by the way, and people are allowed to have their own that are different than yours. Either way, I think that most people are going to agree after seeing this movie, if he's not your favorite, he definitely is a really damn good Batman. Guys, there's not really a whole lot more I need to say about the Batman. I could talk about the effects and all of that. This movie costs like $200 million. It looks good, okay? And believe me, I could keep talking about it, and by the way, on a side note, I will keep talking about it. I will be doing a spoiler review over on Movie Emporium's channel. It's not out as of the release of this video, but it will be coming out within a day or two, and once it's out, you can check it out right here or there or wherever YouTube puts it up here. Check that spoiler discussion out once you've seen the movie. It shouldn't be any surprise at this point that I thought this movie was pretty damn great. It had a great story, great performances, it looked great, it had a wonderful tone, it had a fucking awesome Batmobile, and Robert Pattinson as Batman is once again another Batman casting that none of us saw coming that was just great. The final third of the film at first seems a bit odd, but when you see where it goes and what it means to this character and this story, it all makes sense. The movie overall is what I've been looking for out of a Batman movie from start to finish for pretty much ever, and it shouldn't be any surprise to anyone that I thought that the Batman is absolutely 100% unequivocally my first for 2022, a unicorn. I'm so happy that this movie was not trash. After all the shit that was going on behind the scenes with it, I was really scared, but thankfully, no. Not only is it not trash, it was fucking amazing. So if you're a Batman fan, I mean, I don't have to tell you, go see this movie. You probably are anyway. But beyond that, if you're not a Batman fan, give this one a chance. This is a very different take, and I think you're gonna find that the Batman is a great watch. So there it is, guys, my review of the Batman. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon in the description below and become a jarhead and get some of the awesome benefits that go along with that, like these guys, and possibly join my top tier and become a bad motherfucker like my man Greg C and Dragon Khan. If you like video games or you just want to watch somebody failing at getting good, then check out my new gaming channel, Jag. Link in the description. Any support is appreciated. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Gotham City. I forgot to mention it, but I gotta say that the score in this movie is pretty awesome. I really liked how they worked Batman's theme into every piece of music in this film, it seemed like. That was a really cool touch. But I do want to say that that particular theme and the score in this film, I kept hearing it and I was like, I feel like I've heard this before. It's very familiar. What is it? And then it dawned on me. It is not exactly the same, but it does have hints of a certain popular theme from the past. And that would be the Imperial March from Star Wars. Not the beginning part where it's kind of fast, but like later on in the score where it slows down a little bit and it's kind of like dong, 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 dong. Listen to the score from Batman and then listen to the later parts of the Imperial March. I'm not saying they ripped off the Imperial March or anything, I'm just saying they are eerily alike, and anytime I heard it after realizing that that's what I was hearing, I just pictured Darth Vader coming out of the shadows instead of Batman. But honestly, as badass as Vader is, if he tried to upstage Batman like that and come out of his shadows, this Batman would probably just jump on him and beat the living shit out of it. Really, this Batman loves beating the shit out of people. It's like a fucking pastime or something.